Perched on wave-battered cliffs above the North Sea, a brooding silhouette looms, its weathered ruins standing above the surrounding countryside, forming one of the most striking and eerie sights in all of Britain, and inspiring artists and poets. Shrouded in mystery and steeped in legend, this is a place where ancient stones whisper of a cursed past, and the restless echoes of forgotten souls still ride the winds. So, lace up your stoutest walking boots and prepare to brave the rugged Northumberland coast with me as I delve into the dark legends and ghostly history of Dunstanburgh Castle. Begun over 700 years ago in 1313, Dunstanburgh, which translates as the fort of the town by the rock, lies 2 miles southeast of Embleton and 6 miles northeast of Alnwick. We'll reach the castle on foot from the pretty village of Craster, a walk of just over a mile, which affords some striking views of what must have been a gloriously imposing building. Its architect was Thomas, Earl of Lancaster, the cousin of King Edward II and one of the most powerful barons in England. Lancaster held Kenilworth Castle at the time work started on Dunstanburgh and, along with his neighbour from that part of the country, the Earl of Warwick, was a fierce opponent of Piers Gaveston, the king's favourite. Lancaster was subject to Gaveston's taunts, being nicknamed the Fiddler, and demanded his exile from England. When Gaveston was seized and summarily tried in 1312, Lancaster was one of the judges, and the brutal execution of the king's favourite at Blacklow Hill took place on land he owned. There are likely 2 main reasons why Lancaster built Dunstanburgh Castle, the largest in Northumberland. First, to showcase his wealth and power with a magnificent structure to challenge the king's nearby Bamborough Castle in terms of its position, size and design. Secondly, to act as a secure refuge for himself, as his open hostility to the king put him at risk. Lancaster was ultimately captured by Edward II's forces at the Battle of Boroughbridge in 1322 and met with a grisly execution. It took 11 agonising blows to sever his head. The grey and misty form of a man carrying his own head, seen at Dunstanburgh, has been said by some to be the tortured shade of Lancaster. But he didn't live here, didn't die here, and there is evidence of occupation of the site during the Iron Age and early Roman periods. This ghost may, therefore, be a significantly older spirit whose tale has yet to be told. English Heritage, in a detailed report on the castle, suggests that its design, including ornamental mirrors, implied a literary connection to the Isle of Avalon, the place of magic where King Arthur's sword Excalibur was forged. If true, this means Lancaster was making an incredibly powerful political statement, suggesting he had an Arthurian pedigree and as such was the rightful ruler of Britain. John of Gaunt, the royal prince who would father King Henry IV, inherited Dunstanburgh in 1362 and carried out major refortifications to it in the 1380s. John was a Knight of the Garter, an order of chivalry founded by his father Edward III, itself inspired by the legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. This ongoing influence of Arthurian mythology at Dunstanburgh Castle is seen in the legend of Sir Guy the Seeker, the subject of an 1808 poem by M.G. Lewis and an 1822 verse by James Service. The following summary of the legend comes from John Murray's 1873 Handbook for Travellers in Durham and Northumberland. It is said that Sir Guy, being lost in a tempestuous night, rode towards the castle, expecting to find shelter from the storm. When he arrived, he found only a ruin, and upon taking refuge in the gateway, was met by a wizard with flaming hair, who told him that a beautiful lady was imprisoned in the building, and asked if he had courage to rescue her. Sir Guy was then led up a winding staircase and through a brazen door guarded by a serpent into an immense hall where 100 black marble steeds stood waiting with 100 marble knights sleeping beside them. At the end of the room, in a tomb of crystal guarded by 2 gigantic skeletons, was the captive lady, who implored assistance with clasped hands and streaming eyes. The wizard then offered Sir Guy a falchion and a horn, declaring that the lady's fate depended on his choice. After an instant's hesitation, he blew upon the horn. When the captive shrieked, the marble horses stamped, the marble knights sprang into life, and the lady was forever lost to Sir Guy, who fell into a trance from which he only awoke to find himself again in the ruined gateway. Though full many an age hath glided by, Guy the Seeker still haunts the bones of Dunstanburgh. On stormy nights, when the wind shrieks through the stones, some claim to hear his anguished cries. There are tales of children refusing to approach Dunstanburgh after dark, terrified they might glimpse the spectre of Sir Guy, endlessly pacing the shadows, forever groaning in his futile search for the wizard's sword and the beautiful maiden. There are many Arthurian legends which involve sleeping knights, a sword, a horn, and a protagonist who makes the wrong choice. But the beautiful lady held captive seems to be peculiar to this tale of Sir Guy. Perhaps she is the mysterious White Lady, seen drifting through Dunstanburgh's doorways, her presence heralded by an icy blast of air. Shadowy figures and flickering lights are often reported, and those brave enough to venture near the Constable's Tower at dusk speak of an oppressive sense of unease. One custodian of Dunstanburgh Castle, who took up his post in 1930, avoided this tower as the sun set. His loyal dog, hackles raised, would growl at something unseen in the dark depths, as something I am happy to leave as a mystery. Further along from the Constable's Tower is the Eagle's Ravine, also known as the Margaret Tower. According to some sources, this is the place where Queen Margaret of Anjou, the wife of Henry VI, was lowered at night in a basket to a waiting boat, in order to effect her escape on one of the 2 occasions Dunstanburgh was besieged during the Wars of the Roses. Queen Margaret left some treasure behind, and a castle bailiff is said to have escaped through a secret tunnel with a haul of this abandoned gold in 1464. Yes, Dunstanburgh may be home to a network of underground channels, some leading to Craster Tower and Embleton Vicarage. It would take a brave soul, though, to explore any wells or lower themselves into any mysterious holes on these coastal cliffs, especially as the ghost of Margaret herself has been said to haunt the site. It might have been during the Wars of the Roses that a child ended up imprisoned in the dungeons at Dunstanburgh. Legend has it that this young girl was able to escape during the noise and panic of fierce fighting, and, clutching the key to her prison, she fled to the Lilburn Tower, where she threw it as far as she could into a nearby field. The ground on which that key fell became immediately infertile, with the unploughed outcrop in a field to the northwest of the castle remaining to this day. It was at this time, in the late 15th century, that the damaged castle started to decline. By 1550, Robert Bowes, a knight who was asked to report on the condition of Dunstanburgh, described it as in wonderful great decay, noting that the outer wall thereof might be repaired with no great charge, and also the gatehouse and a house for a constable. But repaired it was not, and the impressively bleak shell is all that remains. Walking around the ruins today, I could not escape the raw brutality of the place, With the North Sea crashing on two sides and windswept, wave-battered cliffs, I could not imagine Dunstanburgh as an elegant sanctuary. At the northeastern corner lies the evocatively named rumbling Churn, where waves are flung high, crashing against the cliffs with a roar that reverberates like the wails of tormented souls trapped beneath the sea. As M.G. Lewis's verse describes it, the spray, as it broke, appeared like smoke from a sea volcano pouring, and still it did rumble and grumble and tumble, rioting, raging, roaring. The stories of Dunstanburgh are as relentless as the North Sea itself, ebbing and flowing across the centuries. For every tale told, countless more remain buried beneath the rubble. Forgotten secrets, hidden chambers, lost treasure, and spectral figures that slip just out of sight. Was that whisper the wind? Was that cry a gull? Was that simply a crashing wave, merely the old stones settling? Or have the restless spirits stirred once more? Perhaps it's time to leave the haunting presence of Dunstanburgh Castle behind, retreating to the safety of Craster before the shadows grow longer. If those are just shadows, of course.